Olufemi Awoyemi founded Proshare, a Nigerian company known for its credibility, reliability, and timeliness on financial, market, and economic information services. I recognize and acknowledge you all, our distinguished guests and esteemed leaders present here, and others joining us virtually. Before we proceed, I'd like to run us through a few housekeeping rules. We ask that the privacy and personal space of fellow attendees are respected to ensure a comfortable environment. We also urge you to conduct videos and photographs with minimal distractions for your information. The event is being recorded and live streamed on web TV, YouTube, Proshare X, and Proshare's account. We believe that your attendance indicates consent to the responsible use of images from this event. Keep sharing this event on social media. Kindly use hashtag AskProshare and hashtag BeyondProfitable, which are our official hashtags. Additionally, please be cautious on stairs and keep your eyes clear. Endeavor to have conversations without distracting others. And please approach our ushers for directions to conveniences. These few guidelines I believe will help us together maintain an orderly, respectful, and enjoyable experience this morning. And I thank you all for your cooperation. Today, therefore, as we gather in celebration of this remarkable journey of Proshare and the unveiling of Beyond Profit, how a Nigerian company built a culture of credibility, it is only fitting that we hear from the visionary who brought this dream to life. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce the founder and chairman of Proshare, one whose unwavering dedication and innovative spirit have not only transformed Proshare into a beacon of trust, but have also set new standards in the industry. Please join me in welcoming Olufemi Awoyemi, a co-founder in financial excellence and integrity for his opening remarks.
Beyond trends and cycles, we have learned over the years that a business does not thrive or fail on the circumstances it faces, but on the character it chooses to adopt. Most importantly, the culture that drives its mission and the institutional resilience it needs to deliver the adaptability and agility required to weather storms is something that only requires an outlier's mindset. So for some of you who find my conduct and sometimes not so clear, maybe you will learn a thing or two today. The Proshare journey, therefore, has been arduous, exhilarating, and most times quite frustrating at very critical points. But here we are. We are still hopeful because we don't know how to be.
I may be the founder. I might have had to cope with the loneliness and emptiness of embarking on an uncertain journey, but it would be remiss of me to fail to acknowledge that there are many people who help to shape, clarify, and form the ideas I often dabble into, people I owe a debt of gratitude. And these are the people who built Proshare. When the author, who so happens to have fallen under ill health this month, the strain of working in Proshare is not for everyone. But when he approached us and created a self-imposed project on himself in May 2020, he said he wanted to find out how we run the company and manage to conduct ourselves under corporate governance in a difficult terrain like Nigeria. We invited him to the office at the time of his choosing, and he decided to ask more questions. And he asked for a list of all our customers, a list of all our former staff, and he said he had stories about me fighting one or two persons, but he wanted to talk to them. In order to allow him to conduct himself, we gave the freedom. But when he came back, and for some of you, sometimes when you think you're doing well, when you hear the story about yourself, confronting the truth is not as easy as I thought. But the feedback captured the highs and lows of our reality, offered us an opportunity for self-reflection, and a compelling case for us to document the same as part of our institutional learning development. His final work, which he completed in early 2022, became a story of life, of imperfections, of dreams, and the unyielding human spirit to be better today than yesterday. Fun fact. In the book, there are certain examples that were there for or some other persons, I would advise you not to allow it to be written in a book. But if you should read it, you will find out a few things, that including those who I thought were close to me, actually spoke to the publisher and said things which he insisted he needed to publish, because he did not want to say anything but the truth. We agreed in the office we should publish it. I said, without realizing what exposing myself to these unfiltered narratives would bring. Yet, I stand here today feeling a sense of relief. Anything you can think of would have been covered in the book. I can go, knowing fully well that I have said my own piece and I've done my own. That said, it is noteworthy that at each turn on the road to becoming a better run Nigerian enterprise, we paid a huge price, and the stress that came with running Proshare is not for everyone, neither would I recommend it for anyone. There were more dark days than joyful ones in the first decade. The second decade is not any better, but yet we have done quite a lot of foundational work and established what we represent.
These painful episodes help build internal resilience and a culture of self-reinforcing operating protocols, an attribute we picked from our never say die culture. Therefore, what we can learn from Tosin's story of Proshare is of imperfections, failures, and disadvantages when you choose to dare to be different and create a world of possibilities, hope, and change for ourselves. It is my hope, therefore, that the planned sessions, videos, and presentations today will resonate with you, inspire you, and perhaps even spark a new commitment in you as leaders to become a better leader who never gives up on yourself, on your family, and indeed on our country, especially at this time. Let me end these remarks with my appreciation to all who are here and all those who, despite the rain, still made it. The team intends to offer a peep into our past and our present, our people and products, and pay homage to those that help build the Proshare brand, one that is unafraid to go against the norm to enable a future-ready market that works for the investor and consumer of financial information. Once again, thank you very much. Enjoy the session.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we embark on a weekly fireside chat with the founder, Olufemi Awoyemi, and followed by the esteemed host. Please join me in welcoming on stage Femi and Tosin.
Thank you so much, Femi. You know, I was looking at this book by Tosin, and I read your letter. So I'm going to take my first question, whatever, from your letter. When you talk about a book that everyone could find noteworthy, but the book is about Proshare, but it's also about you. And one thing this letter didn't state was what you said on the podium: the loneliness of a leader and an entrepreneur. And I knew you were lonely. Not only that I knew I was there, because I could see you working 365 days a year, 24/7. And many times I was wondering how you managed to get by day. But very important was the fact that you have a book that's an autobiography about the company. So give me an idea of the concept. I'm sure about 2003 or 2002, 2004 was when we met.
Are you asking me a question?
Yes, that's when we met as a young man then.
I don't think that would be fair. The journey started way back. I started actually at Philips Consulting. And I think I think anyone here, I want to say this publicly, I owe a big debt of gratitude to Felicia Phillips.
Please let's give a round of applause, please.
Because Folusho was the one who took the very rough street guy, and he taught me virtually every other thing I needed to be a professional and a decent corporate person. I cannot emphasize it enough that the aspect of everything I've done from Proshare was always to follow the principles around how work gets done at Phillips Consulting. The journey of how Phillips Consulting also started, and I've been pinching him so many times that he must put it down because it took so many of us. So I got the training from Folusho Phillips, but especially the late Shubofawale, Francis Osuya, and Tunde Oduwole, who were all my seniors. And there was something very unique about what was it about there. If you thought you were smart, there were more smarter people in that room. If you thought you were intelligent, there were more intelligent people. But there was something that Folusho Phillips emphasized: integrity. If you did not have character, every other thing was wasted. Every other thing was wasted. And I struggled with that. Because I learned from growing up how to survive. So I tried to, how to bend the rules a bit. He did not tolerate that. And I was a little bit rough in terms of how I approach things. But he said, there's something good about you. We can work with you. And so most times, what that book is not really an autobiography. It's to tell you that when you see the finished work, lift the veil to understand the journey. Because if you don't understand the journey, you can never understand the output. And so my story is a story of redemption. Most of you will say, oh, it's brilliant, it's intelligent. No. In Phillips Consulting, therefore, he just threw us in the deep end. He could give you a book like Tom Peters' Liberation Management, 900 and something pages. And then you have to read and process it. So those things come naturally to me. Excelling academically was natural. It was the other part that I struggled with. And so once I got a hang of that, and I then went on doing some few things, and it just let me free on my own. Just a feminine. That's the firm. And then I started being independent. But by the time I got to Fountain Trust, I was already doing environmental scanning. Now, the environmental scanning we did then was basically everything Proshare is doing now and more. But I did it on a daily basis. So what people might think would cost maybe like a week to produce, anybody working with me, you better learn how to produce it in one day. And so the summary of it all is that I worked from a foundation whereby I understood that building good habits is more important than standing out. Because when you build good habits, then you then develop muscle memory. I will always train my staff and myself to say that the governor of Lagos State should call you today and say, what is the position on this flooding? We will not have to go do research on it. We constantly are thinking about solutions before the problem occurs. So the slides are ready, the presentations are ready. Is there? No, just a minute. I will say this one. So yesterday they were talking about somebody trying to say, how should government protect domestic investments in Nigeria? And they called out and said, in 10 minutes, I'm going to talk on this. Can you give us some thoughts on it? It was easy to extract from the work already done and send it. And I said, it is not so easy. It's not necessary all the time that government should support domestic investment. So summary of it all is that setting up Proshare was more a rebellion, really. I was tired of, the NGX. I was just tired of what was going on in the market. I'm sorry, Lance Lakema.
Well, when we met 2004 or thereabout, and I was then at Channels Television.
Yeah.
And
2004.
It was just about the buying capitalization before it got started. And I was wondering how crazy you were and how distant the idea of a financial data platform would be when you've got the NGX or the NSE, as it were at that time, sitting on the mountain of it all. Today, we're sitting in a room in which you have a market that is more deeper, broader, depth, height, width and breadth. But you were thinking of something that would be a financial news platform. And I was wondering, well, maybe because you were coming from outside the country, you think you could just get it done. But there, on that wall over there, and I'm sure most of us in the audience can see the footprints from the milestones from 2006 to the present. And it tells me how much had happened. Maybe you haven't really sat down to look at it and take it all in.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
There's a part of that story. So Proshare started in 2006, but there was a part before that. There was my meeting of minds. We started at Financial Standard. And then I met Ayarolo. And I felt Ayarolo's simplicity should moderate my technical skills. And we did a number of work, myself and Ayarolo, what we call financial education, because we felt that we were mixing up motivational speaking with common sense. And so he was closer to the church group then, but I thought that was the platform to sell. So I could scale from the church group and put the message out rather than to sit down and be doing the same work. I then studied also the models from companies like my friend Doyin Salami. I studied what happened with my old director, Dr. Teriba. I sat down with Bismarck. So I studied everybody's models all across, and I've seen where the gap was. But the fundamental thing was that all of us were operating without a central database. And so if you ask, which were the banks listed, which were the banks operating in Nigeria in 2002, I'm not sure anybody can pull out that data right now. So you find yourself working in a market that has no historical context to make decisions. So we decided then to do that. So we created something called MoneyWise. And if Mr. Michael Winifa was here, he would testify to that, because I started and I did something there. I didn't have money to set up a newspaper. So I went and took 8 pages inside the Sun newspaper. But then I took editorial control of those 8 pages. Now I had journalists working with us, and that was the first conflict. The way journalists operate is that it's like a manufacturing plant. You just put the news, there's no thought thread. So I said, what does the news mean? And so if you look around Nigerian newspapers today, you could buy one, you don't have to buy all. There's almost like a press release. So where's the financial information? And then there was no accountability from companies who operated. And so when we did the consolidation, by the way, I'd gone for 1 year in the United Kingdom, where I was broadcasting on Ben TV as well. So once I walked in the city of London, the bug about excellence could not be reversed anymore. And I knew we had to do. So what we did was to get some boys from the University of Lagos and bring them in, and they were punching on Excel every company's annual report, one by one, in Excel. A very uninteresting, unimaginative task. The data had errors, but that was the whole. So the journey was that we were clear that we were going to run Proshare to the extent that Bloomberg and Reuters would have to find a way to operate with us here, because we had seen then that the way the narrative about Nigerians needed to be controlled by Nigerians. And so it's only the negative things about our markets, our business and economy that we get from those organizations. So the whole goal was that we were going to benchmark, not with any Nigerian enterprise, but with an enterprise outside Nigeria, so that when we get to talk, we would then talk on equal level.
You touched on something in your opening sequence, and I'm going to go back. And this is of the fact that if this was to be a commercial book launch, I'm sure we're going to hire the stadium to have those deep pocket money bags come in here.
And, these are money bags.
I'm coming to them.
because
where I'm going is the fact that not many people like you in this room, and I'm one of them.
They will tolerate me.
No, I have tolerated you, because there are times I wish you were never my friend, or that I never met you. And I'll give just one simple occasion. Just less than 10 years ago, within the last 10 years between. And I just finished a TV show on channels at 10 o'clock, 11 in the morning. And just as I was getting out of the studio, you already calling me. And I interviewed one Nigerian, I'm not going to mention his name, but you've mentioned his name since we started this fireside chat. And you spoke to me for like 2.5 hours. And you called me names. So I'm getting my pound of flesh back today. You called me names. You insulted me. There's nothing you didn't say because you were saying, boasting, what type of bad job did you do? How did you allow that guest to take control of your show? You ought to be in charge. That's what you told me that morning. And you were extremely upset. Now, I guess whether your credits ran out, within 30 seconds, you called me again after an hour. I couldn't go to the toilet. I couldn't do anything. And you held me on the phone. And for the first time in my professional career or so, I was close to tears. But you were telling me the truth of how to be a better TV journalist. Please give me a round of applause. And this is for real. You brought out the best in me by knocking me around in the ring. So I'm going to ask, how did you navigate this cream de la cream of eminent Nigerians, industries, financial services? You made a lot of enemies. You know, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg says, well, if you make millions of friends on Facebook, well, you can afford to make a few enemies as well, because that's Facebook is to make friends. But how do you navigate the various interests? Because you do the politics, economy, finance, and whatever with your team. But how did you manage it all? How do you manage all these relationships?
Okay, I think the question is better passed to the audience.
Okay, I'm going to ask.
But let me just say two things.
Yes.
Mr. Adeola is there. We have stories. And I'll give one example, but there is a particular person here, the former Honorable Minister of Finance, the Minister of State Finance, Remember Balola is here. We have stories. My very good senior and professional, Bola Onodele, Koko is here. Mm-hmm. We have stories. In fact, mine with Koko is as recent as last week. Say, look, I am very privileged. I am very privileged. All these men, they just treat me like somebody they tolerate and help to grow. Remy put me on the board of his company. And
no, I know you stepped on his toes a few
times.
No.
So I just told Remy that if you needed a rubber stamp, he shouldn't call me. But that as an independent member of that board, we will follow the rules. And Remy follows the rules to the T. Remy follows the rules to the T that he doesn't even give me like 10 naira transport or anything. That's how bad he is. So in reward for that, I will also hold him in very difficult. So when he became chairman of First Bank, he saw hell. So the whole idea of this is that Remy and I were AMP 10 at Lagos Business School a long while. And it was Remy who said, Femi, you cannot have a platform without learning how to use that platform for the good of society. So when the CIBN, for example, went after the Nigerian Economic Summit, I called Mr. Adeola. He said, Femi, don't worry, we'll manage it. I said, while you guys are doing your political management, I'm going to document this thing so that we can learn that we should never have a CIBN that goes against a private political structure like that ever again. So we then wrote the CIBN and NESG. And then we did a scorecard of the 15 things that the CIBN wrote in his letter, a very infamous letter. At least 12 of them defies anything that modernity and English or education has given to you. How did we get to a stage whereby institutional bodies will conduct themselves in ways that? So we spoke to them, and then we just went straight to him. While he was doing that, I then now wrote letters to the office of the president, to the CIBN governor himself, and then we went to different stakeholder sessions. And the next meeting that the Nigerian Economic Summit Group were going to have, Did you know that the Central Bank of Nigeria passed messages to banks not to fund the NESG? And so it then became a serious issue. And so these are the kind of things that there is no middle road. We're either trying to build a nation or we're not. But we cannot keep quiet and undermine it. So if those are the things you call conflicts, well, welcome. We'll continue to do that as long as life is there.
Well, okay. So just to save time, and I'm sure. No, I'm going to ask a few men, because when you look at your footprints of Proshare 2006 to date, the primary place where you started, or where it all started, was what we call the Nigerian Exchange Group today, which back then was the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I mean, in the manner of where you get data and what have you, and all of that. So let me allow Mr. Lance Elakama. Let me give him a round of applause, please. Let me put him on the spot. I'm sure he's one of the men who, no, you hold the microphone. They will give him a microphone, I'm sure. He will have a few things to say and maybe take a pound of flesh off you. So just be ready.
Like you said, I met Femi first in 2007, formally, in person. But before then, I know he was working with my friend Adeola, money-wise. He used to write some articles about the market. Then, when I met him was, he wrote a complaint about his stockbroker. You see that guy is here. One stockbroker. Very serious complaint. Then my boss in this said I should look into the matter. I invited Femi to my office and the stockbroking MD. The way he presented the case, very articulate, intelligent, to the last kobo. He was fighting for his claim. His life depended on that. It was at that event that I picked particular interest in him. Then we became friends, and he was always calling me for information. I will call Kenny Okafor, Kenny, to give me some information and pass to him. He left money-wise 2005, I think.
Yes.
Or 6. And started Proshare in 2006. I know he's a very restless person. Very, very restless.
Very, very.
When we now became friends, anytime I come to his house or I come to my house, we're always talking about the market. And I found that he's very deep technically, both in the money market and the capital market. When he sent me a copy of this book, I read it. I've got it to chapter 10, I think about 14th chapter in that book. And I realized who Femi was and who Femi is now. And I knew where it was coming from. Before then, when I saw how he would tell you the truth, no matter how close you are to him. On that basis, I invited him to join my board of Nasena Water. And since he joined the board of Nasena Water,
you poured some cold water on him.
No. Tell me, you cannot point for me with water. That's who he is. Before then, I found that if we present any information, I'm an accountant, apart from being a lawyer. Femi will pieces the punch holes in the statement. Then my daughter, who is the finance director, said we have to go to Femi and learn from him. That's who Femi is. And since he joined my board, I can say with all glory to God, Nasena Water is almost a household name today. Those who know the water can testify to that. So Femi, for me, I think Proshare is just where he is now. It's just the beginning. I can see Proshare that will be competing with Bloomberg and other bigger players in the financial market.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just pass the microphone very quickly to Alhaji Dr. Umaru Kwaranga. I think he's not going to be as nice as Dr. Elakama as the chairman of the NGS group.
Thank you very much, Bosun. After my boss has spoken, I thought that he has summarized for the former NSC and the NGX.
No. No, now for the NGX.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure for me to be here today. We're always happy to associate ourselves with Proshare and the founder in particular. Before I even became a chairman of the NGS, I'm a stockbroker by profession. I have my president of CIS here. So, and I believe most of us feel proud with what Proshare was able to achieve as of today. When you see where they are coming from, where they are today, is something that every Nigerian will be proud to be associated with Proshare in terms of what they have done. It may not be things that we really need from him, but the good side of him is that it's straightforward, the integrity is there, and he can defend it like the way Mr. Musa Alakama have mentioned earlier. So for us, on behalf of the NGS, I know what they have achieved. For me as a person, on most occasions, on daily basis, I used to go to their website. Even though I'm the chairman of NGS, we have the website, but I rely on their website too, because of up-to-date information, the data, the credibility of Proshare.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwaranga. I hope you are not looking for any trouble he was making.
The good side of it is that we disagree and agree at the end of the day. That's the good side of him. And like the way he has done for you for that 2 hours, when you are praying that his data should finish,
yes.
For us, he's always welcome with the suggestions and recommendations for us to move this NGS forward. And I believe both the achievement that we have achieved today is because of people like him that are in the industry, that we feel that we don't have option, that to feel that we have somebody that can be able to compete with Google and other market providers out of the information. Because our market is information driven, and a lot of people rely on Proshare in taking an informed decision. So for us on NGS, with my group CEO that is here and the rest, we are proud and to be associated with him. And we believe going forward, whatever we can be able to do, this is our Nigerian brand. This is our Nigerian brand that we need to protect and defend and make sure that we're on the same level with them. So congratulations, Femi, for what you have achieved.
Thank you so much.
And you rest assured for us at the NGS, as the stockbroking community, where we two always and together.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwaranga. Please pass the microphone to Mr. Bola Onodele Koko, because you... Oh, okay.
Thank you, Femi, the attentive. We thank Almighty God for today. One of the first things I learned from Jim Ovia when we were in Zenith Bank, we used to talk about factors of for you to be successful, there are some 4 or 5 major factors and variables that you need to learn. And Jim will come back and tell us and say, look, forget all these your factors. The only thing that you need is information. Once you have information, every other thing shall be added. And what Proshare stands for, right from the beginning, was about data. Data. That it keeps on shouting, data is everything. That once you just get the data, you can actually influence the market. The way that we look at Femi and Proshare is the same way that you look at those people that are fighting for the nation in terms of the political space. He has picked his own battle, the finance, the economy, and the market. When he writes an article, forget even all the information on the data on the portal. When there is a problem in the market, any issue, whether in one small company, big company, whether even somebody is buying shares or is selling shares, Proshare will come up with one article, one report, and then it becomes the reading moment. Everybody wanted to read it. Everybody will be asking questions. The basic line is like, what is in the best interest of the society? I keep on asking him, why you are doing that? You also need to make money. Are you making money with it? So when the book came out, I was wondering whether I was actually trying to respond to the question that I've been asking him all along. Because when we were in First Bank, I told them, just look for somebody that is independent in thought, that can tell you the truth, and also from outside. Because when we try to tell you, it seems as if one is being too critical. So it's like this guerrilla warfare that you have in politics. When people are producing, journalists are producing all those papers during the night. That's what Proshare is actually doing. And the country is better for it. Keep up your good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mbabalola. You know, I pity those who work with him in Proshare. We wrote 2 reports together around 2005, 2006. And since then, I never went near him to write a report because he made me put a bucket and put my feet in it and said, Bosin, you can't sleep. We need to finish this report. And I said, I'm tired. And I slept in his house plus office, whatever, for 3-4 nights. And even with all that, I'll still sleep off. It will still be working. So I commend those who work with Proshare. But first, let me get a few, because I'm running short of time, but I want to give the book review and others the floor. Let me ask the president of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers to say a few words, because you made a complaint then about the stockbrokers, so I'm sure that I will have.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Well, as a student of contemporary
Could you please raise up the microphone a little bit?
Okay.
Yes.
As a student of contemporary history, I would say I will adopt everything that has been said today. Well, I want to say that Femi and I are very friendly, and we have another common friend too, Charles, who strengthened that friendship. But there's one information that maybe is coming new here today. Femi today is a chartered stockbroker. He wrote the exam at the last diet, and he passed the exam. When he was writing the exam with severe relationship, because I was the first vice president then, and I happened to be the chairman of education committee. So when the result was released, his Femi result I quickly checked. So when he passed, I was so happy. We like what you are doing and in the industry, and we at the institute, we like to associate with you. We are very proud that you are our members, and definitely we will engage you further on this development. On this note, on behalf of over 3,000 stockbrokers in Nigeria, abroad, I wish to congratulate you today and wish you the very best of luck. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, CIS President.
Just in case for context, I was blacklisted once by the institute.
That was good. Once
I was blacklisted.
Now you go and steal no more.
Please, former managing director of the Bank of Industry, very quickly. I'm coming to some of the big names, those who will say some things that I never knew about you. I'm bringing the microphone to my boss over there. Just wait.
I wasn't expecting this, boss.
Yes, I know.
Actually, unlike most people here, I didn't interface with Femi until much later. And that was post my stint at the Bank of Industry. But what I discovered was that, somebody said it's very deep technically, of course. But I think his conviction about the prospects of Nigeria, that the country has so much potential that's been frittered. And that comes across in every conversation that we have. He hasn't come after me the way he has come after many of you. But when we interface, usually online or through chats, you can see that that conviction comes out in many aspects of Nigeria's economy. I think recently, about a few weeks ago, he sent me a text, and I responded, and he came back. And basically what he was doing was almost like a freedom fighter. Not for himself, but for someone else who he didn't mention. But I could sense that he was fighting a cause for someone else. I think that just shows that he is a selfless individual. You know, he believes in a good cause and he fights and puts everything into that cause to make sure it comes across successfully. So on this note, Femi, I want to congratulate you on this great book, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate that. Let me ask Mr. Yemi Laoye, Mr. Laoye Jayola to, and I know, that's why I'm reserving
thank you very much.
The best for last.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you for inviting me. Our relationship dates back to the late 90s. Money market, and then to all that we've done together. And even in this building, CIBN. One thing about Femi is the fact that he's interested in the public good. And that's one area I find myself, public good. We all at the private sector are concerned about ourselves, our company, and we leave the public space unattended to. And what I tell people is that if they successfully get your neighbor, they'll come back for you. And that's how we run our lives as a people, as a nation. We've gone back and become silos. And because they know that we don't pull together, they go after us and they finish us. So what Femi has always done has been, what is the public interest? How can we work together? And we did that all through money market, CIBN. And so when he referred to the CBN NESG matter, he was on his sick bed. And he called me. And I said, Femi, take care of yourself. We will deal with it. He said, Egbon, this one, we will fight. And at no cost to us, he spent his money to do a number of things, when even those who are direct beneficiaries of the things we were doing at NESG pretended not to know what was going on. Some of them you will call, Jayo, we know, but, I mean, my guy is here. Right? NESG. And because, but what is important, and what I want us to take up from it is that we can complain and talk about Nigeria, about anything. If some of us don't stand for what is right and put ourselves on the line and put our resources on the line, nobody's going to come and change it. He's done a lot of work, and that's why we're still friends together. He can call me and chat me up and ask me any question. I'll listen to him. But you know, when he talks about building a culture of credibility, how many of us can stand in the private sector and talk about credibility? People sometimes call me, NESG, what have you done, Uncle? I said, it's supposed to be private sector led. How many private sector people are supporting NESG? How many people? Look, there is nothing you do by policy that we cannot talk about. I mean, you don't need to do anything new, pull it up. But many of us don't do it. So when Rashid Uncle was talking about, he fights about public good. That's what he is for. And I've known him doing that since the late 90s. And he's still there. Femi, you know what? Continue. In our lifetime, we'll see the good of Nigeria. That's my conviction. And that's why we continue. So thank you for inviting me. And I look forward to still talking. You know, anytime you call me, you know I will listen. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause. Thank you so much. Let's take the final shot on this with a man that you went way back. And I also went way back with Felicia Phillips. When I entered TV journalism in 1994 with NTA, Egmo was one of the few people then that tutored me, apart from Mr. Lakama and the rest in the stock market. When it comes to the wider Pan-African reporting, Ebon was the one that usually gave me the perspectives from the South African economy. He opened my eyes to what you call Pan-African reporting. Today, he sowed the seed of reporting in Africa and the rest, even with the report that they published regularly back then. So he's the one I always go to on Channels Television in those days in 94, 95 to talk about African news and economy. Please, I owe you today. Please give him a round of applause. And when you have the floor, please give him the microphone. Mr. Felicia Phillips Consulting.
Thank you. And I also would like to add my words of congratulations and thank you for inviting me here. There was no way I was going to miss this. In fact, I was so eager. I thought this event was for 9 o'clock. So when I was getting ready and I looked at the invitation card, I realized it was 11. But a word of advice to everybody. If you want to have a short conversation, don't call Femi. Because he just goes on and on and on.
And on.
The last conversation I had with him, I actually left the phone on the table. I quickly went to the loo, came back, he was still going on, you know. But
thank you, Edmond, for that trick.
Yes.
I'll apply it the next time. I follow it.
3 words: competence, character, and chemistry. You cannot argue about Femi's competence. I mean, that's what we've been talking about all along. All the issues that are technical in nature, the financial issues, and all those things that come naturally to him. But you see, the quality of your competence is determined by your character. And it is your character that helps to give value to your competence. And that is where Femi actually shines. His character is one that allowed me to bring him into Phillips Consulting because, yes, he was a rough guy. Femi was one of those, Agbasibi, you know. But he came in, and what I saw in him, you know, there's this philosophy, and I think you should all try and adopt it as well. You know, recruit character. You can teach everything else. But to recruit that fundamental character and personality and behavior of individuals. And that's what I saw. And I thought, look, you know, we'll bring this guy in. We would use his ebullience, his vivacious attitude, his ability to speak, his ability to express himself. We will use that and teach him the art of consulting. And that's what we did. And we did it quite successfully in the sense that he was successful in the things that he did. I'll never forget, and he motivates. And in as much as he was trying to say that, look, he thanks me for whatever it is I did, he motivated me as well many, many years ago. And I remember one day, I was sharing the vision of the firm or what we wanted to do in the country, what we wanted to do in the continent, you know. And I had just started and he said, please, FOP, wait a second. He dashed and he came back with a little recording device. He said, you can carry on, you know. And he recorded what I had said. And then when I'd finished, he said, I want you to hold on to this and refer to it, play it back in the future, you know. I still have it. I don't know where it is, but I know it is somewhere in all the junk at home. Okay, many, many years now. And I keep thinking back about the fact that he really wanted to capture what it is that was being expressed at that time. And that is the nature of the man. He looks at the very essence of what it is you're doing, the very essence of your soul. And that's why he connects with you at a much deeper level for those of you that have worked with him. So the third word is chemistry. His ability to just, you know, we say we have a chemistry with somebody, and that's him. Those of us that are here, and many that are not here, are those that have a good communication, good connection, good connectivity with Femi. I won't talk about all the technical things that he's done, but just look at the individual and the person, and appreciate the fact that where he is now is just the beginning. Proshare is not doing enough. You and I can have a conversation about that, okay? Because there's always the next level. There's always the next level. And you mustn't feel comfortable and get complacent. There's still a lot of work for you to do, but I believe you've got the character to do it. So once again, congratulations and well done.
Thank you so much, Felicia Phillips. I think one vote of thanks in a manner of speaking, a closing comment from my dignitaries. And if you permit me, I'll give it to the market. Mr. Temi Kokola, the Group CEO of NGS Group.
Thank you. vote of thanks for.
I don't know.
No. What I was just joking.
I was wondering. I'm not sure it's in my place to do that.
No, that was just joking.
Frankly speaking, I think a lot of the comments to be said have been said. My chairman has spoken. I see many of the call it people that have come before us have spoken. I will just add to all that has been said that there is also what I would call another angle to Mr. Awoyemi around mentorship, which comes maybe slightly outside of just the core business of media and some of the things that we've spoken to. There is quite a few of us who look up to him, look up to his leadership, look up to his guidance as we continue to do the very important work that we do. So I just want to also stand on what the chairman had said. We remain very, very grateful for that. It's always good, and I think the fact that I'm here with the chairman in a very busy season speaks quite a bit to that. To have stakeholders who can criticize with one hand and encourage with another hand and really just guide, we have really come to appreciate that. And then the markets are thankful for what you do. Proshare doesn't speak often, if I could say that, but when it speaks, it moves the markets. The market knows that Proshare has spoken. So just to add to the words that have been said, we are behind you and look forward to a lot more of all of that as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Temikwokwala. We appreciate everyone who has spoken. Thank you, distinguished personalities. Femi, I hope you don't have a parking ticket. Yeah, because I can see Federal Road Safety Commission here. Or you haven't written anything against them. Thanks for being here. Please let's put our hands together for men and women in uniform that are here in the audience. Thank you. Please stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. Please, men and women in uniform. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Well appreciated. Thank you very much. Now, sorry, say yes in national service. Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for Femi Awoyemi and the Proshare team. Thank you very much. Now, let me have this handshake. Mr. Moderator.
Once again, can I ask that we give a round of applause to Femi and Bosun? And I guess I can say that we've just concluded a captivating fireside chat with Femi and Bosun, exploring the profound narratives and different sides of the man Femi and his work and ethos. Now we move forward to gain further perspective through the keen insights of our distinguished book reviewer. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ruben Abati, whose astute literary analysis will illuminate the themes and significance of the book. Dr. Abati brings his discerning eye and literary expertise to contextualize the impact and significance of this book. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ruben Abati.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And congratulations to both the author and Femi Awoyemi and the entire team at Proshare. Well, the only difference between me and most of the people here is that I've had the opportunity to read the book. And when I read a book, I just put down my own thoughts. It doesn't mean that you will agree with me. So that's the more reason why you should get a copy of the book and read, so that you can make up your mind whether I was saying the right things or just playing around. Okay, my review is titled Beyond Profit, the Story of Proshare. And it goes as follows. The teaching of case studies is a major part of the curriculum in most business schools. By teaching students how Nokia lost its position as the #1 smartphone company at a time, or why BlackBerry was shunted aside, Jeff Bezos and the leap of amazing, or why Microsoft, Apple, or Nvidia are today listed as 3 of the world's most profitable companies. The curious student is introduced to the world of visioning, company culture, innovation, marketing, leadership, and the CEO factor, entrepreneurship, and essentially, why businesses fail or succeed. There are many of such books on the bookshelves from the Western world, company profiles, CEO profiles, but here in Nigeria, there is a scarcity of such narratives. African businessmen, for the most part, run their businesses like secret and private empires. Few are willing to tell their stories. Fewer still will open up their records for scrutiny or allow an investigative researcher to unveil their methods and aspirations. What if other people steal the ideas? What if some of the star performers in the team are lured away with better offers? What if hidden company secrets are unveiled? And indeed, in an environment where the entrepreneur is part of a complex web of societal contradictions, secrecy, or its euphemism, discreetness, remains part of the culture. I was therefore attracted to the openness suggested in the title of this book by Tosin Adeoti, Beyond Profit: How a Nigerian Company Built a Culture of Credibility, which tells the story of Proshare, an online financial services platform. Proshare offers a combination of news reporting, research and analysis of capital markets and corporate financials, financial advisory services, and rigorous dispassionate review of developments in the financial sector. The company was established in 2006 by Olufemi Awoyemi, a member of the National Institute, MNI, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, a researcher, analyst, a thought leader, and simply an entrepreneur. This book is the nearly 2-decade story of Proshare, from its humble beginnings to its emergence as a leading player in the financial space in Nigeria with a growing global reputation. The operative word in the subtitle is how. Teachers of leadership and entrepreneurship should find this book a worthy addition to business case study analysis. It is an act of courage for Femi Awoyemi and the Proshare team to offer their company's biography in such great detail, and an act of creativity on Tosin Adeoti's part to find a story worth telling. More books of this nature need to be written, and African CEOs should be encouraged to tell stories to prevent the kind of speculations that we have witnessed in the absence of concrete narratives about the founding of businesses, mergers and acquisitions, and company culture. Beyond Profit is primarily a book about leadership, divided into 3 parts in a total of 14 chapters and 364 pages. The first 3 chapters focus on Femi Awoyemi, his beginnings in the humbler parts of Lagos, his parents, how they influenced him, particularly his father, his transition to the world of work, and the experiences that shaped him. CEOs are products of their backgrounds and experiences, of their environment, and like the rest of us, they are shaped by this in terms of their relationship with others in the workplace. Femi Awoyemi saw poverty at close range and was determined to keep his head above water. But his journey to entrepreneurship was not in any shape smooth. The story that is told is one of failures, betrayals, arrests and visits to the police station, disagreement with business partners, joblessness, and escape abroad from problems and relatives and friends seeking black tax, until he discovered himself first and discovered the idea of the same Proshare that is today a brand whose story is worth telling. In most parts, the book is inspirational. The simple lesson for the man who dreams is not to be deterred by setbacks. From the background of his experience with a failed partnership with Ayo Arolo, a seasoned financial journalist, and the publishing of a financial newspaper called Moneywise, Awoyemi reinvented himself with Proshare. The second big issue for me in this book is the value of nickmanship, or perhaps originality. In business, you do not get ahead of the competition or gain market share by doing exactly what everyone else is doing. It is the differentness that sets you apart. In designing the business model for Proshare, Awoyemi avoided the traditional financial reporting in print journalism and chose the online platform at a time digital penetration in Nigeria was low and the social media was still in its infancy. But the company offered essential service. It provided financial information about the capital market to both the market and the customers and backed that up with rigorous informed analysis. Other sources of financial information used everyday style of reporting. Proshare adopted the language of the experts, reporting from the inside to the investment community in a critical, independent manner. Investors worry about risks. Whatever intelligence that may reduce their fears will make their effort worthwhile. Proshare provided that much needed empowerment, the knowledge about the markets and the fintech ecosystem. At pages 106 to 118, the author discusses the expansion of the company's operation through the provision of a supermarket of services, including Proshare Consult, Proshare Web TV, Proshare The Analyst, Proshare Technology, Proshare Economy, Proshare Markets, and the Proshare Foundation. The supermarket analogy is obvious enough. In a supermarket, there are many shelves, creating for the owner multiple streams of income. Proshare trades in data, using multiple approaches in response to the needs of the market. When businesses create a niche for themselves, they can only sustain their competitive advantage through innovation and reinvention. The third part of the Proshare story is its people. This book provides a detailed profile of Olufemi Awoyemi, but it is largely about the Proshare persons, the people who make up the organization, from the driver to the data analyst. Tosin Adeoti discloses in the early part of the book that he conducted more than 100 interviews, talking to current and old staff. He not only quotes them at length, he provides a list of the executive board, the management team, and the advisory board at pages 16 to 17. The stories of Hope, the security personnel, and Akinyemi Samuel, a logistics officer, at pages 177 to 180, and a detailed profile of senior members of the family at pages 180 to 223. A family tree with Nigerian, African, and Asian branches. Throughout this book, Adeoti quotes the staff. Their voices are heard, and we get a picture of their commitment and dedication to a company that they consider our company. My favorite staff testimony is that of his staff that have been marked for disengagement. Upon getting a whiff of the news of his impending sack, the staff insisted that nobody could sack him. It is our company, he reportedly said. He insisted that he had not yet achieved some of the things he wanted to achieve in the company. Many will consider that curious, but he was allowed to stay. And of course, there are others who have had to leave, as is the natural case in the life of any company. In this regard, there is an interesting story at pages 281 to 285 about the curious case of the absconding accountants. The accountants, they will spend 6 months, they will disappear. One spent 9 months, he left. Well, what stands out more perhaps is the culture of values, transparency, and teamwork that have been established over the years in the company. Culture is important in organizations. With the mentality of someone familiar with what they teach in business schools, this author stresses that what keeps the Proshare team together is the emphasis on transparency, independence, and credibility. This is the source of the emphasis on beyond profit in the title of the book. In a capitalist world, businesses are of course interested in profit. But the prevalent trend is that businesses must have a social conscience. They must be socially responsible. And this responsibility, as conceived, is not only external. Adeoti reports Proshare CSR during COVID-19 at pages 175 to 176. The CSR also speaks to a workplace culture and the observance of ethical values. In the course of business, reports and investigations by Proshare had resulted in threats from affected parties, invitations by the police, and allegations of bias. But this has not diminished the team's commitment. The business of intelligence gathering could be risky. Honest truth-telling has been dangerous since the days of Chikero. But even more than that, Awoyemi learned early in his career the risk and the price to be paid for cutting corners. Nigeria is not exactly a safe place to keep telling the truth and going about saying you do not care whose ox is God. Even when the 1999 Constitution grants the media and owners of information platforms specific rights under sections 22 and 39 thereof. Nigerian watchdogs have had to learn the hard way that what they do every day is like walking the tightrope, as Mr. Babatunde just said, the Daily Times legend opined. All things considered, Proshare is a company in transition, and this is acknowledged in two essential regards. Nigerian CEOs find it difficult to stand aside and allow their businesses to run without them, to allow room for succession and wisdom beyond the power of one. With due respect, many known brands in Nigeria are no better than one-man businesses operating on the logic of a village corner shop. Perhaps realizing the danger that this poses to the sustainability of a business, Femi Awoyemi has since stepped aside as the CEO of Proshare, with the devolution of responsibilities to Grace Adejare Ajuwon as MD CEO, Teslim Shitabe as Executive Director, Managing Editor, Chief Economist. Awoyemi currently holds the position of Non-Executive Chairman. His wife, Alero Awoyemi, is Executive Director, Proshare Foundation. The second sense in which a transition is signposted is the company's planned response to the changing landscape of the business. Digital, excuse me, is that my phone? Sorry. Digital interconnectivity in Nigeria has since increased since 2006, resulting in an explosion in the fintech space and the emergence of blogs and platforms seeking to provide the same services as Proshare. The internet space, dominated by the Gen Z, is beginning to talk more about artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things. Data is arguably the new oil, but the landscape has changed, requiring new tools, especially as the market is beginning to make new demands about how intelligence is gathered and data is analyzed. Confronted with this new disruption, Proshare is now looking into the future with what it calls Project Digital. Two questions, however. How did Proshare's decision to focus on an online platform during low digital penetration in Nigeria contribute to its competitive advantage? Two, in what ways did the company culture at Proshare, emphasizing values, transparency, and teamwork, impact its growth and reputation in the financial sector? Nonetheless, this book leaves the reader with great expectations about the future and the possibilities therein. Therefore now, Beyond Profit documents the journey of Proshare to date. It remains an unfolding story as we all await the future and transition that is here promised. This offering by Tosin Adeoti is worth reading. It's a beautiful, engaging read, and the publishers, Scribe Tribe, have done a good job of presenting it in a reader-friendly manner. Entrepreneurs and teachers of business and leadership will find the book beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben Abati. Following Dr. Reuben Abati's enlightening review of Beyond Profit, we now turn our focus to one of Proshare's offerings. And joining us next is Taslim Shitabe for a quick and brief presentation on their latest report, the Tier 1 Banking Report for the class of 2024. And just to say that Taslim and his team will be available afterwards to attend to any questions or comments that we might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Quickly before I start my presentation, I would like to thank Dr. Olusho Phillips and my good brother Bosun Omofaye. When it comes to the issue of time, I'll have my own fireside discussion with Femi after this session. Right. Okay. Now, in my presentation, I'll do three things. Provide an overview of the bespoke and fit-for-purpose methodology for Proshare's Tier 1 Bank Report 2024. I'll also present the new class of 2024 Tier 1 banks and comment briefly on the banking recapitalization exercise that is ongoing. Okay. The Central Bank of Nigeria does not employ a tier-based classification system for banks in Nigeria. What that means basically is that the Central Bank of Nigeria does not tier banks into whether a bank is Tier 1, Tier 2, or even Tier 3. What the Central Bank of Nigeria does is to classify banks in terms of whether they are systemically important banks or whether their capital is considered to be Tier 1 capital. So how did and why did Proshare decide to classify banks? The story goes to 2013, when AfriInvest, an investment bank, decided to classify banks into Tier 1 categories. And if you look at the AfriInvest report, AfriInvest stated that there are banks that should be considered to be fugas. So I'm sure we're all aware of banks classified as fugas. That's First Bank, UBA, Guarantee, Access Bank, and Zenith. 10 years after, in 2021, Proshare therefore asked itself, why are these banks still considered to be Tier 1 banks? Why are other banks not considered to be Tier 1 banks? And we therefore decided that we will take a look at the issue of evaluating Tier 1 banks. So in 2022, Proshare produced its Tier 1 first or inaugural Tier 1 bank report. Here you'll see the AfriVest model for assessing Tier 1 banks. In 2022, using the financial report for the financial year ended 2021, Proshare decided to recalibrate the assessment of Tier 1. Now, if you look at the difference between AfriInvest and Proshare's 2022 PBSI, the only additional variable we added was board diversity. In other words, age, gender. Were they important in determining how well a board will perform? We found out actually that statistically, it is a significant aspect of whether a board does well. In 2023, we decided to go a step further based on reviews by our peers and some members of the banking industry and the financial services sector broadly. We decided to go a step further and we increased the criteria to 10. So if you look at the 2023 PBSI matrix, you'll see 10 different items. Now, coming to the most recent PBSI report for 2024, we went even further than that, and we decided to make those criteria 15 in number. Let's look at, based on this new 15 criteria, who actually are Tier 1 banks in Nigeria. The Proshare report suggests that we have gone back to what we started off with in 2013 with AfriInvest. AfriInvest had an acronym for Tier 1 banks, FUGAS. In 2024, Proshare discovered that the same FUGAS are Tier 1 banks. Now, if you look at the analysis here, you find out that Access Bank in our first report was number 1. It was top of the Tier 1 banks. In the next report, because of the adjustment in the criteria, Access Bank came to number 4. But in 2024, they came back to number 1. Next chart. For us to understand this in a graphic context, the next chart will explain this further. Right. So if you take a look at, for instance, we can choose any of the banks here. You take a look at Access Bank. In our first report, they were number 1. By the second report, they had come down to number 4. And by our last report, the 2024 report, they've come back to number 1. But we could also take a look at another bank. Let's assume we decided that we want to take a look at GT, for instance. In our first or inaugural report, GT placed 5th in our Tier 1 bank ranking. By the second report, GTB had gone back up to 2 before falling in our most recent report to the last of the 6 Tier 1 banks. Right. Now, coming back to the issues that perhaps are very concerning for a number of people about recapitalization of banks and how that recapitalization is likely to affect the Nigerian economy, particularly the GDP. If you look at this chart, recapitalization is not a new concept. Recapitalization had taken place right from 1980, and it went on to the early 1990s. This is what you see here. However, GDP had not moved significantly, despite the fact that banks were continuously recapitalized. So the big question is, does bank recapitalization actually promote GDP growth? If we are going to take the sample of what happened between the early 80s and the early 90s, the obvious answer would be no. But something happened. In 2000 and between 2000 and 2001, the Central Bank of Nigeria decided that it will introduce a concept called universal banking. The universal banking concept meant that, unlike in the past where you had specialized banks, commercial banks, merchant banks, development banks, there will be one banking institution conducting the variety of financial services. So a bank does real estate, a bank does insurance, a bank does commercial banking, a bank does investment banking, and that seemed to have some impact on growth in Nigeria's GDP. And we see that happening, if you look at from 2000, this is the rise in capital, the gradual rise in capital. So from 2000 to 2004, just before Soludo took over, you see a gradual incline, a gradual rise in Nigeria's GDP. Now, in 2004, 2005, the then CIBN governor, in his wisdom, decided that, look, Nigerian banks need to be much bigger than they are. We need to grow the economy a lot faster. So what did he do? He decided that from a capital base of 2 billion naira, he would raise the capital base for a bank registered in Nigeria to 25 billion, or roughly 10 times. Now, what impact has that had on Nigeria's GDP growth? This is 2004, 2005, and this is, you can see the steadily inclining GDP. So it does suggest that if banks are recapitalized, there will be significant growth in GDP. So, but let's look at between 2005 and 2023, there's been no increase in bank recapitalization. However, GDP growth has shown a steady increase. And like the company said, why will be addressed by Proshare's research department after this presentation. Right, so in Proshare, we have developed a concept of financialism or financialization. What does that mean? That means that banks can actually translate equity into value. Now, just as typical, let me just give one example here. We see an increase in shareholders' equity here. What is it likely to lead to? We expect it to lead to an increase in loan portfolios and diversification. That's what we call financialism. Now, if that takes place, what will happen to the real sector of the economy? We expect that the manufacturing sector will see higher output, distribution activities will grow, and consumer purchases will increase. Therefore, we argue in Proshare that there must be a great amount of financialism in the system. Here, this chart also sort of gives us an idea of the implications. Banks recapitalize. How does it affect the economy? Banks will increase loans and advances. Those will result into increased manufacturing output, and our GDP will grow faster. How does bank recapitalization affect businesses? Obviously, there will be increase in loans and advances. There will be increase in business output. But to the man on the street, what concerns everybody with overload? So yeah, banks have recapitalized. So what? For those invested in the equity market, we expect that because companies will be doing better, there will be an increase in capital gains, and there will therefore be an increase in dividends, which, if households had invested in equity, there will be a higher household welfare. Okay, right. So, like I said earlier, we had gone back to the future. When, in 2013, AfriInvest started assessing Tier 1 banks, they came up with the concept of fugas. In the last two analyses done by Proshare's research department, this term no longer applied because some of these banks actually dropped off and they were no longer Tier 1 banks. But they were borderline Tier 1 banks. But in our context and in our metrics, they were Tier 2 banks, higher level Tier 2 banks. So let's see what is happening here briefly. Let's look across at capital adequacy. The bank with perhaps the lowest capital adequacy, that doesn't mean that the bank is bad. It simply means that it doesn't need as much capital, is ETI, Ecobank Transnational Incorporated. But who is the bank with highest capital adequacy? UBA. Then we look at total assets. Now, in the early days, Proshare decided that it was not going to look at the level of total assets. What we wanted to do was to look at the growth of total assets. However, in discussing with some bankers, they insisted that no, that to make the index more robust, we needed to put the level of total assets. So we introduced the level of total assets in the 2004 to our 2024 metrics, and we can see the total assets of the 6 banks that qualify as Tier 1 banks using Proshare's Bank Strength Index. Non-performing loans. The highest non-performing loan is the red bank here. The orange bank here follows, no, doesn't follow next. The ETI follows next, then the red bank here. This is what we're seeing. These are the indices we have used to actually measure the extent to which these banks have performed adequately. Right. So, closing thoughts here. Policyholders have considered big banks with larger economies and faster growing domestic products as a sound argument to make. However, what we have said is that it does seem superficially sound, but it's still unproven. And then we gave the data and showed what I showed earlier. Next slide. We argue in our reports that we must realize that banks growing bigger does not necessarily mean that these banks are better. And we saw that occur during the time of the consolidation exercise in 2005. And we saw that again in 2010 when Governor Mohammed Sanusi, CBN Governor Mohammed Sanusi, decided to consolidate banks. So being bigger does not necessarily mean that you are better, but it does give you fighting room. So, no. The last slide, please. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so basically the takeaway here is that we have gone back to the Fugas, the 6 banks that were considered to be tier 1 banks in 2013 by AfriInvest. We're back there. However, if you look at in 2022, you see them scattered more broadly. Fidelity Bank was actually a tier 1 bank in 2022 matrix. Stanbic was also a tier 1 bank. It was actually the 3rd bank. By 2023, we saw Access becoming the 4th largest tier 1 bank. And then we saw Zenith being the 5th. And the 1st largest tier 1 bank was actually UBA. But the story has changed in 2024, and these are our class of 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, because I have a constraint of time, I want to thank you for patiently listening to me, and I hope you have a decent rest of the day, despite the rains. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost done, and we will soon get to the highlight of this outing today. But before we do that, I would like to crave your indulgence to invite just 2 minutes each, the chairman, Annie Lagos chapter, Molara Balogun, MNI, and right next, coming after her, would be Joseph Edgar, the Duke of Shomolu, and of course, I would not leave this hall without inviting Ayo Arolo. So can we have Molara Balogun, MNI? Just 2 minutes, quick words about why you're here, basically.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Where do I start from? Femi is, I'll talk about the person. I'm going to go beyond the world of profit, economic world, the finance world, to the human world, the world of service, the world of selfless service, the world of giving, consistent giving, selfless giving. Earlier on, I think it was Mr. Felicia Phillips who talked about the character. This is the embodiment of Femi. I met the refined Femi, the polished Femi. And over the years, the background, the chiseling, the edging, the firing has produced a diamond, a rare gem, which in the Alumni Association of the National Institute, which we are proud to have him as a member, Femi continues to give of everything that he has. A perfect gentleman. Don't underestimate him. That roughness, that street, foundation there. But you see, it all makes him a full-rounded person. He's a gentleman that you can rely on. Femi is focused. Femi has integrity. When Femi gives his word, Femi runs to fulfill that word. And I don't know where he is in the hall, but I say congratulations to Femi. This is just the beginning of a better future in your unrelenting work towards a better society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I quickly invite Joseph Edgar and ask that Mr. Arolo get ready to come up as well. We're trying to make the best use of time, and we will be done shortly.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Edgar. I used to be a stockbroker, and now I'm not sure where I am. As a young stockbroker, I came into contact with Mr. Awoyemi, Femi. I used to think, is it Awoyemi or Awoyemi? Okay. So I did a very, good afternoon, sir. Mr. Lekama. Strange. Sorry. So we had a big transaction, very big transaction, one of the biggest transactions of my career. And then we ran into trouble with that transaction. Prior to that time, I hadn't heard of Mr. Femi Awoyemi, never. Do you get? And then there was a lot of trouble, a lot of fight, a lot of things. And the people kept saying, oh, there's one Femi Awoyemi of Proshare that is consulting for them. There's one Femi Awoyemi of Proshare that is, I'm like, who's this person? Who's this person? And then we started getting a lot of letters from the clients. All of a sudden, the clients' letters were beginning to make sense. The clients' letters were beginning to come with some strategy. The clients' letters were beginning to come with a lot of facts and information. We could actually see that, truly speaking, there was somebody who was actually really advising these people. You guys, like 10, 15, 20 years ago. So as a young stockbroker who knew that I was going to get somewhere in this market, I made it a point of duty to go and know this person behind these people. That's how I met Mr. Awoyemi or Awoyemi. Yeah, that's how I met him. And then from then to date, even though I'm no longer in the market like that, I still, follow him, watch what he's doing, and really try to support him in any little way that I'm doing. And I'll tell you guys why. You see, I don't know, I thank God, I was hoping these guys would still be here when it's time for me to speak. You see, the market is an engine of economic growth. The market can only begin to make sense if information like this is democratized. When we started as young stockbrokers, we could only take buy-sell decisions based on information. Today, funny things are happening. Do you get? So that's why people like Mr. Awoyemi must continually be supported in whatever it is that in this thing that he's doing, so that clean, independent, usable information can be democratized in our markets. So our markets will not, our markets, it's true, our markets will not be captured the way our country has been captured. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And very quickly, Mr. Ayo Arolo.
Apologies, I came a bit late. I wasn't too sure I followed it, but with the little I saw, or I'm seeing here, I want to say that I'm not surprised at all with what Femi has been able to do with Proshare. I would just describe it this way, that Femi is someone, if you give him a small door, he will break it into several doors. It can create opportunities of nothing, and that's what I'm seeing here. We were together, and the impression I have now is that he's a very detailed and focused individual. Once he gets his hand on something, he can make something out of it, a great thing out of it. So I'm very happy that I'm here, and I want to congratulate you on this very powerful project. I wasn't here earlier, so I wasn't too sure I knew what was there. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now to the main highlight of today's event, the unveiling of the book, Beyond Profit. I'd like to invite on stage founder, chairman of Proshare, Olufemi Awoyemi MNI. I'd like to invite on stage Bosun Omofaye, if he's still in the hall. I'd like to invite all the directors of Proshare Group and the following esteemed persons for this unveiling. Mr. Folusha Phillips, please come on stage. Molara Balogun MNI, please come on stage. Lance Elakama, please come on stage. Dr. Umaru, who's no longer here. And I don't know if Mr. Onodele is still in the hall. Bola Onodele is left. May I invite Osaro SAN? Please come on stage.
Well, yes, let's do this quickly. A lot has been said about Femi, a lot has been said about Proshare. At this point in time, I want to add that we are extremely proud, and it's great that Femi's activities and Proshare's activities have been personified in this book, which we are about to unveil. And we mustn't forget Mr. Adeoti, who is the author of the book. And the book review has been very interesting. And my advice is that you should all go out and get a copy. So please, the two ladies will support me as I say, as a Christian, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, we unveil this book for Proshare's continued success. Amen.
So can I invite the publisher to please join them on stage? And also to say that the book is available on Amazon. So I'd like to ask that you please hurry up. Thank God for technology. I'm sure that we will get the information required that people are already buying the books. The book is available on Amazon. Please go ahead and begin to purchase the book. And also, I would like to ask that you wait so that we can have the copies. Thank you very much. And I'd like management of Proshare to please join us on stage, management of Proshare. Management of Proshare. Do we have the picture for the management of Proshare? Okay. Thank you very much. As we draw this event to a close, it's only apt to invite someone who embodies Proshare's vision and dedication. Someone who has been instrumental to Proshare's evolution and whose closing thoughts and appreciation will encapsulate the spirit of today's celebration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Taiwo Akino. Can we give her a round of applause?
Distinguished guests, all protocols duly observed. We've had a wonderful 2-hour event, and we'd just like to say a very big thank you. For those who were able to join online, we say thank you. Most importantly, for those of us who were able to attend here physically, we appreciate you, and we say a very big thank you. On behalf of myself and my colleagues who put together this event, we appreciate you for your time. We say a very big thank you, and we look forward to having you at our next event. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending, and especially our online community who joined in. Do accept a gratitude and enjoy the rest of the week. Please do not leave immediately. Spare a moment to interact and take some memorable photographs. Thank you very much, and God bless.